Worry is a thief, silent and cunning, slipping into the mind when the night is at its darkest and the world has turned its back. It does not knock, nor does it ask for permission. It settles into the bones, weighing down the spirit, whispering doubts that gnaw at the heart. It twists the mind into knots, making mountains out of pebbles, turning whispers into roars. And yet we hold on to it, cradling it as if it were a dear companion, feeding it with our thoughts, nurturing it with our fears. But worry has never lifted a burden. Worry has never lit a path. Worry has never mended a broken heart or rebuilt a shattered dream. Worry grips the soul and tells it that tomorrow will not come, that the storm will never pass, that the sun will refuse to rise. It is a lie, yet we believe it. It is a chain, yet we lock it around our own wrists. But what if, just for a moment, we let go? What if we took this heavy thing, this thing that has bent our backs and troubled our sleep, and placed it in hands far steadier than our own? What if we surrendered, not in defeat, but in trust? There is a weight that sits upon the shoulders of the weary. It is not a weight made of stone or iron, but it is heavier than both. It does not rest in the hands, yet it drags them down. It does not sit upon the feet, yet it slows every step. It coils around the heart, tight and unrelenting, whispering, murmuring, always speaking, never silent. Worry. It clings to the soul like a shadow, creeping into the quiet moments, pressing into the soft spaces of the mind. And we, fragile creatures that we are, hold on to it as if it were ours to carry. We pace the floor in the still of the night, turning over the same questions, chasing the same fears, as if the mere act of worrying might change the course of the river, might turn the tide, might mend what is broken. We hold on to it with trembling fingers, believing that if we release it, we will somehow be left empty, somehow be left without control. But tell me, has worry ever healed a wounded heart? Has it ever stretched out its hands and pulled a drowning soul from the deep? Has it ever written a melody so sweet that it lifted the sorrow from a grieving spirit? No. Worry does not heal. Worry does not save. Worry does not build. It destroys. It steals the breath from our lungs, the joy from our days, the peace from our nights. Yet we have been given another way, a way that does not call for clenched fists and sleepless nights, a way that does not demand that we bear the weight of the world upon our own frail shoulders, a way that says, give it up, lay it down, it was never yours to carry. Oh, but how we resist, how we clutch our burdens as if they were precious jewels, as if our worry somehow proves the depth of our love, the strength of our hearts, the weight of our responsibility. But there is no courage in worry. There is no faith in fear. There is no wisdom in drowning in what we cannot control. We stand in the storm, clutching our broken umbrellas, believing that our trembling hands can hold back the rain. We fight against the waves, believing that our strength alone will keep us from sinking. But oh, my dear, the water is too deep, the wind is too strong, and these hands of ours, they are too weak. So why do we resist? Why do we fight against the one thing that could bring us peace? Perhaps it is pride. Perhaps it is fear. Perhaps we have convinced ourselves that if we stop worrying, it means we do not care, that if we let go, it means we have given up. But tell me, what mother loves her child less because she places them in safe hands? What traveler is foolish for trusting a guide through dangerous terrain? No, it is not a lack of love that calls for surrender. It is wisdom. It is trust. It is the knowledge that there are hands far stronger than our own, a mind far wiser than ours, a power greater than all our fears combined. But still, we hesitate. Still, we hold on because surrender requires faith, and faith is not always easy. Faith asks us to release before we see the outcome. Faith asks us to believe before the answer comes. Faith asks us to trust, not just in the light, but in the darkness, not just in the calm, but in the storm. And oh, how the storm rages, how the winds howl, how the night stretches long and unyielding, and still the whisper comes, let it go. And so we must, not because we are weak, but because we are wise, not because we do not care, but because we know there is something greater than our worry, something stronger than our fear. We must stand at the edge of our doubts and step forward, not because we see the ground beneath us, but because we know it is there. And when we do, when we finally release, when we unclench our fists and lift our eyes, there is peace. A peace that does not make sense to the world, a peace that does not answer every question or remove every obstacle, but a peace that settles deep into the bones, that quiets the mind, that silences the storm within, even when the storm outside still rages. For what is worry but a prison of our own making, and what is faith but the key? The world will tell you to hold on, to grip tighter, to fight harder, but the truth, the deep and unshakable truth, is that real strength is found in surrender. Real peace is found in letting go. Real courage is found in trust. So take your worries, those heavy things that have bent your back and troubled your sleep, and place them where they belong. Lay them down, not in fear, but in faith. And then, my dear, lift your head, straighten your back, take a breath, and walk forward lighter than you have ever been before. There is a rhythm to life, a cadence that moves through the earth, steady and unbroken. The rivers do not ask where they are going, nor do the trees beg for the wind to change its course. The birds do not worry if the sky will still be there when they take flight, and the sun does not question whether it will rise again. Everything moves in harmony. Everything follows the path it was meant to follow. And yet, here we are, tangled in fear, burdened by thoughts that were never meant to be ours to carry. We wake with heavy hearts and troubled minds, wrestling with the unknown, grasping at the unseen. We build walls with our worry, brick by brick, until we can no longer see the horizon, until we have trapped ourselves in a cage of our own making. And what has it given us? Has it made the days longer? Has it made the nights kinder? Has it wrapped us in comfort or lifted our spirits from the depths? No, it has done none of these things. Worry has never softened a blow. Worry has never lengthened a life. Worry has never restored what was lost. Still we hold on. Still we twist our hands together, pacing the floor, searching for answers that will not come in the stillness of the night. We carry burdens that are too great for our shoulders, whispering prayers while still refusing to release the weight. We stand at the edge of peace and refuse to step forward, afraid that surrender means losing control. But tell me, what control have we ever truly had? Have we commanded the winds? Have we stilled the waves? Have we determined the turning of the earth or the rising of the stars? No, my dear, we have done none of these things. And yet we cling to the illusion that if we worry hard enough, if we think long enough, if we hold on tight enough, we can shape the outcome of our lives. We believe that our fears can build bridges, that our anxieties can carve out new paths, that our restlessness will somehow change the seasons before their time. But the truth is this: worry does not move mountains. It only makes them seem larger than they are. It is a clever thief, whispering that if we let go, if we stop turning things over in our minds, we will be unprepared. It convinces us that worry is necessary, that fear is proof of responsibility, that anxiety is a sign of love. But love is not worry. Love is not fear. Love is trust, and trust means knowing when to release. Imagine for a moment that you are walking through a storm. The sky is dark, the wind is fierce, and the rain is falling in heavy sheets. You clutch a broken umbrella, its ribs bent and useless, its fabric torn and flapping in the wind, and yet you refuse to let it go, convinced that somehow, some way, it will protect you. But tell me, would it not be wiser to release it, to lift your face to the sky and know that the storm will pass, that the rain will not last forever, that the sun is waiting just beyond the cloud? Would it not be better to trust that the road will not always be this difficult, that the night will not always be this long, that the weight will not always be this heavy? But trust is not easy. It is not a thing we slip into like a comfortable coat. It is a thing we must choose over and over again in the face of every fear, in the midst of every storm, in the presence of every doubt. It is a choice to believe in something greater than ourselves, to acknowledge that there is wisdom beyond our understanding, a plan beyond our vision, a purpose beyond our pain. And yet we hesitate because trusting means surrendering. Trusting means stepping forward even when we cannot see the ground beneath us. Trusting means releasing what we cannot control and knowing that the hands that hold the universe can surely hold us too. But oh, how we struggle, how we grip our burdens with white-knuckled hands, unwilling to loosen our grasp, how we turn our worries over and over in our minds, wearing them like a heavy coat, refusing to take it off, even when the sun begins to shine. But what if we let go? What if we stood at the edge of our fears and took that step into the unknown? What if we dared to believe that peace is not found in knowing every answer, but in trusting that we do not have to? What if we understood that the weight we carry is not meant to be ours alone? There is freedom in release. There is joy in surrender. There is peace in knowing that we were never meant to bear these burdens by ourselves. Life is too short, too precious, too beautiful to waste in worry. The days will pass whether we spend them in fear or in faith. The sun will rise whether we greet it with hope or with hesitation. The world will keep turning whether we choose to trust or to tremble. So why do we choose worry? Why do we let it wrap itself around our hearts, sinking its claws into our joy, poisoning our peace, suffocating our dreams? Why do we give it a home in our minds, allowing it to whisper doubt into every decision, fear into every step, hesitation into every hope? Worry is not our friend. It is not our companion. It is a liar, a thief, a destroyer of peace. But we do not have to listen. We do not have to believe its whispers. We do not have to carry what was never meant to be ours. We can choose in this very moment to set it down. We can choose to unclench our fists, to straighten our backs, to lift our eyes, and to move forward in faith. We can choose to believe that there is a greater plan, a higher wisdom, a love deeper than the oceans and stronger than the storms. And oh, what peace there is in that choice. What joy there is in that release. What freedom there is in knowing that we are held, that we are seen, that we are cared for beyond our own understanding. The world will still turn, the rain will still fall, the storms will still come, but we will not be broken by them. We will not be lost in them. We will not be destroyed by them, for we are not alone, and we were never meant to be. So take a breath, my dear, release the weight, lift your eyes, and step forward, lighter, freer, unburdened at last. As that settles into the bones when we carry what was never meant to be ours, it is a weight that does not simply sit upon the shoulders, but presses into the soul, whispering doubts, stirring fears, keeping the mind restless when the world has gone quiet. It turns the simplest of days into battles, the calmest of nights into storms, the brightest of hopes into shadows. It wraps itself around the heart like thick vines, twisting, tightening, refusing to let go. And yet we carry it. We carry it because we have convinced ourselves that we must. We have told ourselves that to worry is to be prepared, that to fret is to be responsible, that to fear the worst is the only way to guard against it. We have woven worry into our days as if it were a thread necessary to hold the fabric of our lives together. But tell me, has worry ever protected a soul from sorrow? Has it ever built a bridge strong enough to carry us over troubled waters? Has it ever silenced the winds or calmed the raging sea? No, my dear, it has not. It has only made the journey harder. And still, we cling to it as if the act of worrying itself might hold back the tide. We rehearse our fears in our minds over and over, playing out every possible disaster, every terrible outcome, as if by doing so we might prepare ourselves for the unknown. But all we have done is lose the present moment in the grip of what may never come to pass. We have spent our days trapped in the illusion of control, believing that our anxieties might somehow shape the future. But the truth is this: control is a mirage. It is a thing we chase, a thing we reach for, but never truly hold. We do not control the turning of the seasons. We do not control the rising of the sun or the setting of the moon. We do not tell the waves where to stop or the stars where to shine. And yet, we convince ourselves that if we worry hard enough, if we fear deeply enough, we might somehow dictate the course of our lives. But we cannot, and oh, how exhausting it is to try. How tiring it is to hold on to burdens that were never meant to be ours, to carry worries that do nothing but weigh us down. How much peace we sacrifice in the name of preparation, how much joy we forfeit in the name of fear. We miss the beauty of today because we are too consumed with the uncertainties of tomorrow. We miss the laughter of the present moment because we are too tangled in the what-ifs of the future. But tell me, my dear, what if the what-ifs never come? What if the things we fear never manifest? What if the disasters we prepare for never arrive? What if all we have done is rob ourselves of the beauty that was meant for us? What if we have spent years gripping our fears so tightly that we have failed to grasp the blessings that were right in front of us? Life is too short for such burdens, too fleeting to be spent in the prison of worry, too precious to be given over to fear. There is so much more waiting beyond the walls of anxiety, beyond the endless questions, beyond the sleepless nights. But to reach it, we must be willing to let go, to open our hands, to release the weight, to step forward in trust, even when we do not see the whole picture. And that, my dear, is where the real challenge lies. Not in worrying, not in holding on, but in releasing, in trusting, in stepping forward when the path is uncertain. It takes courage to surrender. It takes strength to let go. It takes faith to walk into the unknown without the map, without the answers, without the assurance of what lies ahead. But oh, what peace there is on the other side. For when we release, we are no longer prisoners to the weight of worry. When we surrender, we are no longer bound to the fears that have held us captive. When we trust, we find that the road is not as perilous as we once believed, that the mountains are not as high as they once seemed, that the storms are not as endless as we once feared. Worry is a thief, my dear, a cunning, deceptive thief. It robs us of our joy before sorrow has even come. It steals our laughter before pain has even arrived. It convinces us to mourn things that have not yet happened, to grieve over possibilities rather than realities. It makes us prisoners of a future that does not yet exist. But what if we refuse to be its captives? What if we chose to live, to breathe, to embrace each moment as it comes, rather than fearing what might never be? There is a world waiting beyond worry, a world filled with peace, with freedom, with a kind of rest that settles deep into the bones. But we must be willing to step into it. We must be willing to stop carrying what was never meant for us. We must be willing to release, to trust, to believe that we do not have to hold everything together on our own. So why not now? Why not here? Why not let go of what has weighed you down for so long? Why not step into a new way of living, a new way of breathing, a new way of being? The storms will still come, the winds will still blow, the unknown will still stretch before us, but we will not be crushed beneath it. We will not be lost in it. We will not be broken by it, because we were never meant to carry this weight alone. We were never meant to walk this road burdened by fear. We were never meant to live in the shadows of what may be instead of the light of what is. So take a breath, my dear. Open your hands, lift your eyes, let the weight fall from your shoulders, and walk forward, lighter, freer, unburdened at last. There is a certain kind of weariness that worry brings. It is not the tiredness that comes from a long day's work, nor the exhaustion of the body after a task well done. No, this is a different kind of weight, a heaviness of the soul, a restless stirring of the mind that does not ease with rest. It follows you in the morning, clinging to your steps, whispering into your thoughts. It does not leave when the sun sets, but rather curls itself around your heart in the quiet of the night, turning moments of peace into battles unseen. You sit at the table, but your mind is elsewhere. You walk through the day, but your thoughts are tangled in places you cannot reach. You lie down to sleep, but your worries toss and turn with you, keeping your eyes open when they long to close, keeping your spirit unsettled when it longs for rest. It is a relentless weight, an unyielding presence, demanding your attention, insisting on its place in your heart, convincing you that without it you would be lost. But tell me, have you ever truly been found in the arms of worry? Has it ever given you clarity? Has it ever provided the peace it promises? It is a strange thing the way we hold on to our anxieties as if they were treasures, as if they had something to offer us in return. We clutch them tightly as if letting go would mean losing something valuable. But what value is there in fear? What beauty is there in doubt? What gift is there in carrying burdens that are not ours to bear? We have convinced ourselves that worry is necessary, that it is proof of love, proof of care, proof of responsibility. A mother worries for her child, a worker worries for his job, a friend worries for another, and yet love is not worry. Love is not fear. Love does not look at the future with trembling hands and anxious thoughts. Love stands firm. Love trusts. Love believes in the unseen and hopes for what is to come. But worry does not hope. Worry does not trust. Worry does not build. It tears down, it erodes, it eats away at joy, gnaws at faith, devours peace, until nothing is left but an emptiness that no amount of reasoning can fill. It creates problems where there are none. It makes mountains out of molehills. It turns quiet moments into battlegrounds, filling the mind with storms that were never meant to rage. And yet we continue to carry it as if it were a thing we could not live without. We turn it over in our minds like a stone in our hands, examining every edge, every possible outcome, every scenario that may or may not come to pass. We walk through life with our arms full of burdens we were never meant to hold, refusing to release them, convinced that if we let go, everything will fall apart. But tell me, have you ever stood in the morning light and watched the birds take flight? Have you ever seen them hesitate? Have you ever seen them look to the sky with fear, questioning whether the wind will carry them? No, they simply spread their wings and go, unburdened by doubt, unshaken by fear. They do not sit upon the branch, trembling at the thought of the journey ahead. They do not hold back, wondering if the sky will still be there when they take flight. They trust without question, without hesitation. And if the smallest of creatures can move through the world with such certainty, why then do we, who have been given so much more, choose to walk in fear? The trees do not worry if spring will come. The rivers do not question whether they will find their way to the sea. The flowers do not hesitate to bloom, fearing that the sun will not shine upon them. Everything in nature moves in its rhythm, follows its course, trusts in the unseen hand that guides it. And yet we stand doubting, questioning, wrestling with fears that were never meant to be ours. We must learn to release, to let go of what was never meant for us, to understand that worry does not protect us, it only paralyzes us. It does not prepare us, it only prevents us from living fully. There is a freedom that comes with surrender, a lightness that comes when we choose to put down what we were never meant to carry. But the choice is ours. We can continue as we have, walking through life with restless hearts and anxious minds, or we can choose a different path, a path that does not require us to have all the answers, that does not demand that we hold on to every fear, that does not ask us to control what was never in our hands to begin with. And oh, what peace there is when we make that choice, when we choose to release, to trust, to step forward without fear. The storms may still come, the winds may still blow, but we will not be shaken. The road may still be uncertain, the future unknown, but we will not be lost in fear. For we were never meant to live this way. We were never meant to carry these burdens alone. We were never meant to spend our days tangled in worry, our nights lost in fear. There is more to life than this. There is more to living than the weight of what may never come to pass. So take a breath, my dear. Release what has held you captive for too long. Lift your eyes to the sky and see that there is a world beyond worry, a life beyond fear, a peace beyond understanding, and step forward lighter, freer, unburdened at last. There comes a time when the soul grows weary of carrying what does not belong to it, a time when the heart, having been burdened for too long, begins to ache for release, a time when the mind, tangled in endless thoughts of fear and doubt, longs for silence, for stillness, for rest. But the problem is not in the longing, no, the problem is in the letting go. We want peace, but we are afraid to release the very things that steal it from us. We want freedom, but we hold on to our chains as if they were lifelines. We want joy, but we refuse to empty our hands of the sorrows that leave no room for it. And so we continue as we have, walking through life carrying invisible burdens, pretending that this weight is simply part of existence. We tell ourselves that worrying is natural, that fear is inevitable, that anxiety is just another thread woven into the fabric of life. But if that were true, why does it feel so heavy? Why does it drain the spirit rather than uplift it? Why does it steal instead of give? If it were truly a necessary part of our existence, wouldn't it strengthen us? Wouldn't it empower us? But it does not. It weakens, it consumes, it exhausts, and yet we cling to it. We wrap ourselves in our anxieties as if they provide shelter, not realizing they are the very storm we seek refuge from. We mistake worry for preparation, fear for wisdom, restlessness for responsibility. We believe that if we let go, we will somehow lose control. But my dear, the truth is, we were never in control to begin with. We were never meant to orchestrate every detail, to predict every outcome, to ensure every step of the journey. The weight of the world was never meant to rest upon our shoulders, and yet we bend beneath it, unwilling to place it down. What if for a moment you allowed yourself to be free? What if, just for a breath, you released the worry that has wrapped itself around your heart for so long? What if you could move through life not with clenched fists, but with open hands, not with a furrowed brow, but with a soul at ease? The world would not stop spinning. The sun would not refuse to rise. The ocean would not cease its tides. Life would continue just as it always has, because it was never dependent on your worrying to begin with. But we are afraid of release. We do not know who we are without our burdens. We have carried them for so long that they have become a part of us, like old scars that we have learned to live with. And the thought of living without them, of trusting, of moving forward without fear, it terrifies us. Because what if something goes wrong? What if we stop worrying and disaster strikes? What if we loosen our grip and everything falls apart? But tell me, my dear, has your worry ever stopped the storms? Has your fear ever built a fortress strong enough to keep pain away? Has your anxiety ever softened a single blow, or has it only made the journey harder, the nights longer, the burdens heavier? We tell ourselves that worry prepares us, But what it really does is rob us of peace, of joy, of the ability to fully embrace the life we have been given. The birds do not hesitate before they take flight. They do not sit upon the branch, calculating the wind, measuring the distance, doubting the strength of their wings. They simply go. The trees do not resist the changing of the seasons, fearing what is to come. They do not hold onto their leaves when autumn arrives, unwilling to let go. They release, they surrender, and in doing so, they make room for new life, for new beginnings, for new beauty to unfold. But we, in our endless need for control, refuse to surrender. We hold on to the past, to the future, to our fears, to our doubts, to our need for answers. We demand to know the outcome before we take the first step. We insist on certainty before we move forward. But life does not work that way. Life is not meant to be lived with a map in hand, every road marked, every turn predicted. Life is meant to be walked in trust, in faith, in the quiet confidence that no matter where the road leads, we will not be lost. And oh, what a different life that would be. A life not ruled by fear, but by freedom. A life not consumed by worry, but filled with wonder. A life not burdened by what ifs, but open to endless possibilities. Can you imagine it? Can you see it? A life where your heart is light, where your mind is at peace, where your soul is no longer tangled in the web of fear. It is possible. It has always been possible. But it requires you to let go of the need to control, let go of the belief that worrying changes things. Let go of the restless nights spent rehearsing fears that may never come to pass. Let go of the heavy burdens that were never meant for you. Do not be afraid of what will happen if you release them. Be afraid of what will happen if you don't. Be afraid of a life spent in chains of your own making. Be afraid of missing out on the beauty of today because you were too busy fearing tomorrow. Be afraid of reaching the end of your days only to realize that you never truly lived because you were too consumed with what might go wrong. What if for once you chose to believe that things will be okay? What if instead of fearing the unknown, you embraced it? What if instead of clinging to your burdens, you opened your hands and let them fall away? The ground beneath you will not crumble. The sky above you will not collapse. Life will go on, and so will you, but lighter, freer, unburdened at last. Because the truth is, you were never meant to walk through life carrying the weight of the world. You were never meant to live each day shackled by fear. You were never meant to worry yourself into exhaustion, to carry burdens that do not belong to you, to spend your life tangled in anxieties that steal your joy. You were meant for more. You were meant for peace. You were meant for freedom. You were meant for a life that is not spent gripping fear with both hands, but rather one that is lived with arms wide open, embracing the beauty of each moment. So why not let go? Why not lay it down? Why not step into the life that was meant for you? The life that is waiting just beyond your fear, just beyond your worry, just beyond your need to control. The choice is yours. The freedom is yours. The peace is yours. It has always been yours. All you have to do is release what was never meant to be yours in the first place. So, my dear, the time has come to decide. Will you continue carrying what was never meant for you, or will you release it and step into the peace that has been waiting for you all along? Worry has taken enough from you. It has stolen your joy, your rest, your ability to live fully in the moment. But you do not have to live this way. You can choose to trust. You can choose to let go. You can choose to walk forward, not in fear, but in the quiet confidence that you were never meant to bear these burdens alone. Take a deep breath. Feel the weight you've carried for too long, and now release it. The world will not crumble. The sky will not fall, but you will finally be free. And oh, what a beautiful life it will be when you are no longer shackled by fear.